Welcome everyone to Season 19 and the opening round of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics right here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and joining me to kick off this new season, as always, is Larry McLeod in the commentary booth. And we've got Dennis Branch once again to bring you all the great camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. Season 19, it's going to see many changes, new faces, and a new focus. Having focused on North American tracks for the past two seasons, this year the series is going global, with a focus on the raciest of European circuits. But tonight, we kick off the season by heading south of the equator to Sao Paulo and the track built between two lakes, Interlagos, otherwise known as Autodrome Jose Carlos Pache. It's a circuit built into the land, known for its constant elevation changes and a typical counterclockwise layout. And it should present our MX-5 drivers in both the Pro and Open classes a series of challenges in their 60-minute sprint to the checker that they haven't encountered before in the Classic Sprint Series. So, Larry, welcome to Season 19.
Greg, I love it that we're back for another season. I am super excited. I'm excited about the new tracks that we're going to open this up beyond just North American tracks. We're going to start out in South America tonight, Interlagos, an F1 track. I love this place. I think it races fantastically. I'm so looking forward to seeing these Miatas get thrown around this little place, and excited to see some new faces with us here this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. New faces. We have a lot of drivers returning. We have some drivers and some notable drivers not returning. We're going to get to them in just a moment here. But first off, why don't we start off, Larry, as our drivers, they are going to be heading out in just a few moments for their 15-minute qualifying sessions. And tonight's format, 15 minutes of qualifying. Each driver will have 4 laps to set a fast lap to set the race grid, and then a 60-minute race to the checker. And the drivers are going to have to take at least one pit stop in order to make it the full race distance. But before we get into it, let's talk about that new schedule. So in past years, Larry, with some very minor exceptions, the Classic Sprint Series has run some of the best tracks that North America has to offer. A couple of years ago, they did go down to Australia for a single round, but everything else really for the past number of years has been in North America. Let's take a look at the great season that we have that is going to shape up here in the Classic Sprint Series for Season 19. We're starting off, as we mentioned, here at Interlagos for this 60-minute sprint, and then we're going to go and head up north of the equator, up to Canada, up to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, home of the Grand Prix of Canada, up just right outside of Montreal. Then, and here's a bit of a difference that we have, we've got a couple of double headers here. Our third round and our fourth round, they're going to be held on the same evening. They're going to be held the night of August 2nd, and we're going to be at Brands Hatch. And instead of running a single 60-minute race, our drivers are going to have 2 30-minute races. Then we head to the Hockenheim Ring off to Germany. Then we come back to the UK, and again, a double header, this time at Donington Park. And then 3 weeks after that, we head to Alton Park, also in the UK, and then we wrap up. We go back to the mainland, go back to the old country, go to Italy, and we're going to Imola to wrap up Season 9. It should be a great season of racing here in the Classic Sprint Series, Larry, and I'm certainly excited for it.
Oh, absolutely. I think trying some new tracks in this series, I hear names like Donington, and I just get excited because another one of those great places to race. I'm super excited to see that. And I'm happy that we've got some new names in here, because if you look at, who's won this class and who's won this series in the past here at the ST class, which is the Miatas, and technically, the old days, there were multiple classes. You look at the champions, the past champions, the last 4 champions are not here. So there is doors wide open for someone new to jump through that door. Could be one of our old champions. We've still got folks like John Allen, Robert Hartley, who have won championships in this class in the past. They're back, but there's some new talent that's going to be alongside of them. And as we get into qualifying, we're going to really see how they play out for this and who maybe some of the names are that we're going to be watching this season.
All right, Larry, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But one thing, schedule's changing a lot, but one thing that doesn't change as we lead off tonight's edition of the Classic Sprint Series, we have our track guide here presented by Kevin Ford. So Kevin, take it away and show us this beautiful Interlagos track.
Welcome, everyone, to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this incredible course, Interlagos GP. 15 turns, 2.67 miles around this place. As we head up the front straightaway here, you'll notice our pit area to the left as we cross the stripe and our main grandstands to the right. This is a very fast entry into turn one here, known as Senna S. We'll set up a wide track out into turn one here. It wraps back against itself, now down into turn two. We'll whip the car back to the right and then back into turn three here for this very fast left sweeping corner that takes you out onto the first long straightaway here, and of course the first overtaking opportunity as well. You really pick up some speed coming downhill here into turn four. You'll notice drivers trying to get on the inside of their competitors here at this entry. Get back to throttle here, let that car track out wide, pick up some good speed down through five. And out of five, we'll track out once again and swing back left to set up our entry to head into the very difficult road section here. Let that car drop down to the bottom of five, or six rather, come right through seven, and then we're going to set up the next right-hander of turn eight. Down through the gears here, we're going to hug that apex. We're going to track out wide and get ready to bring that car right back to the left here through nine. Up off the exit, notice they have a nice track out area there for drivers. And then down into turns 10. Blind exit there. You can see it's a bit of a crest coming up off that corner, and that back end will get loose. Coming down through 11 here, we're going to pick up a lot of speed down through the gully and up into turn 12. Blind entry here. Want to be real careful to not track out too wide there and get off into that grass section. Now out of 12, this will bring us up around turn 13, and of course this is where the speed takes place. Very long straightaway, large spans of tarmac, plenty of room to get overtaking done. You notice our blend line there for the pit entry as we come around turn 15 and head up this very fast straightaway towards turn one once again. There you go. There's your track guide for the incredible Interlagos GP. Thank you for being with us.
And thanks so much to Kevin Ford for that lap of the 2.67 mile 15 turn Interlagos circuit here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And so, Larry, as our drivers are just now heading out for qualifying, their 15-minute qualifying to set the grids for tonight's race, you alluded to it right before we went to the track guide, that we have some past champions that perhaps are, and very recent champions here in the Classic Sprint Series that are not with us here tonight and likely won't be with us for the rest of the season. It definitely gives the opportunity here to see and let some new and exciting faces shine here in the series. Let's take a look at it. So in the Pro Series last year, or pardon me, in the Pro Class last season, Elvis Rankin from the Apex Racing team took the championship, and I believe that was his second year in a row winning the Pro Class. We had Zach Burke and Mike Dam finishing second and third. Now we know and have gotten word that Elvis Rankin, he's going to be devoting the majority of his time to the Ricmotech World Challenge this year, so probably not going to see him here in the Classic Sprint Series. We definitely wish him well, and of course Larry and I will be calling many of his races this year. But again, that opens things up for a lot of other drivers here that have been in the top five. We talked about Burke, Dam, Robert Hartley racing with us, John Allen outrunning with us here as well in the Pro Class. You know, definitely opening things up quite a bit. And if we take a look at the Open Class back for season 18, Josh Soto in the Soto Racing entry, he took the championship. Pretty commanding win there, taking 5 out of 7 rounds in season 18. Brennan Horn, who's here this evening, will be racing, and I believe Brennan, we'll take a look here, I believe Brennan might have moved up to the Pro Class. Is that correct? No, we're showing that he is still racing in Open. So a good opportunity for Brennan, who we see there out on track. Edgar Sancinelli finished third, Jeff Cranston fourth, and Derek Holland fifth in the championship last year. So definitely some big opportunities for racers here, Larry.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. I think we're going to have some great parodies. This series is always a very Very tightly contested series every single race. And looking at some of the tracks that we have, these kind of tracks are going to lend themselves to that kind of racing. We start out here at Interlagos. In the sim, I have raced this track hundreds of times, and every single time it produces just fantastic racing, side by side all the way. It's going to come down to strategy, to that fuel stop. It's going to come down to, can you minimize the mistakes and stay with the pack and have a shot at the end? But this is one of those races where we could have 6, 7 drivers all together within 3-4 seconds of each other at the end of tonight's race with a chance to win. You play that out over the course of a season, and with that kind of opportunities for folks, the one who's able to minimize those mistakes and who can get the fuel stops right and the tire changes right and to be in that mix every single week is the one that's going to come out on top. But it means there's opportunity for everybody. There isn't going to be, I don't think anybody's going to run away here, and nobody ever really runs away in the sprint series. And I think this season is going to be exactly that. It's going to be a whole lot of just side by side, nose to tail, bump drafting, classic Miata racing, and I'm so looking forward to it. And we've got some talented folks here. You've mentioned we've got John Allen right there on screen right now. He's won this class. He's won the pro class back a couple of times now. I think 3 times in the past. You've got guys like Robert Hartley. He's won this class a couple of times, several. I think it's about 5 times or 6 times in the past. Travis Schwenke's won this thing before. So you've got a lot of drivers that have been around that I think have a shot at this as we start playing the season out. And there's going to be names that maybe come into this that we haven't heard before. We've got some new names, if you look at the list tonight, that weren't around last season. And taking a quick look here.
We're looking at one of them right now. We've got Rachel Williams in the number 777 car. She is currently the second fastest driver on track in the open class here in qualifying. And Larry, she was the fastest driver during the opening practice before we came on the air here. So definitely good things to look for from Rachel. We also have, and I think a big one, and I've seen him race quite a bit now. I don't believe he's set a time yet. We've got Dean Dibdahl in the number 19 machine.
He's out there on his first lap right now.
Yeah, there he is going and trying to set his first flying lap. Dean is all of 13. He may have just turned 14. I had seen him race online for a couple of years in another league, and I think a couple of actually, I guess it was over the summer, put on a great show in the Road to Indy series where he almost took the win at Road America against some very top professional drivers, and definitely want to look out for Dean.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited to see, is some of this young talent to come in here and see how they progress and develop. He might be one of those drivers that in this first race just kind of starts feeling his way around, start to learn who you're racing with, and but by the end of the season, maybe he can be moving towards the front of the pack. And that with this series, it does seem to be a lot of familiarity between the drivers that helps a lot. We've done the interviews with the drivers after the races, and they talk about kind of a co-opetition sometimes of how you have to know to feel through the race as the race progresses, so that people like Mike Dam and Greg Mack and Hartley and John Allen, these guys now have raced together many seasons. They can, in a way, predict a little bit of body language, car language to each other. If they're signaling, hey, I'm going to take the lead here, but I'm going to give it back to you if we start drafting. Those things happen. A new driver, somebody like Dean Dibdahl or Rachel Williams, they have to learn those things. They have to learn who they're racing with and against to be able to make those moves when the time comes and trust who you're up against. And that'll be fun to watch as these new drivers start to figure this out.
All right, as we watch Tom Rathke make his way around, probably Rathke, sorry about that, Tom, as he makes his way now on, I believe, his final flying lap, and he will finish up in 8th position in the pro class, and we'll see if there's still a couple other drivers in the class that have laps remaining. Jeff Jacobs, Clint Vigas in particular, we'll see if they can leapfrog that number 41 machine.
Yes, we've got the camera there on John Allen. His first lap did not go in the books. I suspect he had a 1X somewhere. There are a couple of spots around this place that'll happen. Very notably, it'll be the exit of turn 4. Often folks go a little bit too wide right through there. Some of the other spots you can cut corners on, down in like turn 9, 10, even at the exit of the last corner before the long main straightaway too. You can cut that a little bit and negate those times. But for someone like John Allen, it's just a matter of making sure the tires aren't worn out for that second lap. But it's not, as you can see right there, it goes right up to second on the board with this that lap there. But yeah, the good thing about this place is it's not terrible on tire wear, so you're not going to destroy a set in one lap. So if you screw up one lap, you got a shot at another, and there are 4 laps in qualifying to get your fast one to get on the board for the opening grid.
Now, you mentioned not a lot of tire wear here, and of course, the track is laid out very differently, but the way we have these very heavily cambered corners, and you could see there as we had one of the drivers coming out of the final corner out of 15 onto the front straight corner known as bleachers for pretty obvious reasons, but a lot of the corners here are very cambered. It kind of reminds me very much of like Watkins Glen in that regard, in that you do load up the outside tires quite a bit, but the track kind of helps you through some of these corners very much so, and unless you get out of the groove, and if we see a lot of side-by-side racing, which is, as we've mentioned here, at least we talked about a little bit off air, how this track is very wide and gives the opportunity for these MX-5s to, in some cases, go 3 wide into some of these corners, and you can see here, you can see here at the entrance to the pit lane on that final corner how wide the track really is. You may find if you're out of that groove, you may put a little bit of extra wear on the outside tires, and it would be one of the things that we look for here as our drivers. They will need to pit at least once tonight, and whether or not they decide to go that route, if they find that the car may not be able to handle the entire 60 minutes.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch as that develops. And we always talk about fuel strategies as well as a driver. If you want to sit in that, if you're in that lead group and you're lucky enough to get out in the beginning part of the race and stay there, you have an opportunity to maybe save some fuel if you want to sit in that 3rd and 4th position and just sort of, coast a little bit into the corners, use the draft to pull you along, and let the front 2 sort of dictate the pace. You just sort of save some fuel. Tends to cut down the length of that fuel stop when the time comes. So we'll see if anybody employs that kind of strategy here tonight.
Yeah, and Larry, given the penchant for side-by-side racing here at Interlagos, might not be a bad idea for the 3rd car in a group to just kind of sit back and let the 2 cars ahead of them put that giant hole in the wind for them and just pull them along, even more so than just the standard 2-car draft would, and save that fuel to try and make the undercut a little later on in the race.
Yeah, what I love about this place of watching some of these cars go all over, you can see how wide they're running. You see all this apron that they use. There's a lot of leeway with track limits around this place that you can just you have to really just cover the car across them. But the curbs aren't those brutal, super tall, the sausage curbs at Coda come to mind. A few other places where you just, and we're going to see them in the next round. We talk about Circuit Gilles Villeneuve up in Montreal. That place is terrible for its curbs through some of those chicanes. They'll kill you. They'll destroy the car. But here, you can use them, which really makes opportunities for side-by-side racing even better, because if you're in the inside, you can just cut across. Now, you don't want to cut too tight and end up with a course cut penalty, because here in iRacing they'll make you serve that penalty, and it could be a second or 2 you got to slow down. But it's at least the opportunity to present itself where you're not going to be jammed in alongside of a tall curb. It's going to knock you out of it, and I love that. I think it makes for great racing around here. And the fast line around here is to put 4 wheels across those curves, especially through I think it was a turn 8, the right-hander. Turn 9, you definitely want to use it all. And then on turn 12, the last corner before the long straightaway, you want all 4 tires to the right of the white line. Sounds weird. It's not an off track. You got to go really wide to get an off track, but you want them all the way out there to make that last corner a nice early on the gas to get down that long straightaway. And you'll see that tonight. A lot of drivers just cutting across those curves. And it's not a penalty if you do it right.
All right, so we've got just about 10 seconds remaining here in our 15-minute qualifying session. And as I look up and down the order here, Larry, I believe all of our drivers, including Jeff Jacobs there in the yellow number 38 machine, have completed all 4 laps. And let's get ready here to run down the starting grid for the inaugural race of season 19.
All right, up on the pole tonight, the Canadian, all the way down from Canada down to Brazil, Mike Dam and Orion Racing. He'll be leading the pack there on the inside in row 1. On his outside, the Defined Auto Works car of John Allen. He'll be on the outside of row 1. On the inside of row 2, it's another Orion Racing driver. This one's Robert Hartley. The outside of row 2, the Esports Racer team, Greg Mack. That's outside of row 2. On row 3, Chris Thorman from D2D Esports. He's on the inside. He'll be alongside Randall McGrew from Genesis SimSport. Row 4 is going to have Mitchell Peak in the Esports Racer team. And on the outside there, another esport racer, his teammate Jordy Fike. So an all esport racer, row 4. Row 5 on the inside, Tom Rathke in the Granite State Racing. He'll be alongside David Payton in the D2D esports racing team. Row 6 on the inside, Brennan Horan. He's, I believe, our top qualifier in the open class. He's an esport racer outfit. He'll be alongside Clint Vigas in the Mech Motorsports. All right. And the 13th on the grid, Street Survival's Jeff Jacobs. He'll be inside of row 7. He'll be alongside the Sisbiki Racing Rachel Williams on the outside of row 7. And I'm going to screw that team name up all night. Row 8, Dean Dibdahl, the Dibdahl Racing team, be alongside Frito Sport Racing's Mike Taylor. Row 9, Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing, alongside NAP Motorsports' Nick Parsono. Row 10, Greg Brockway from eSport Racer, alongside 046 Racing's John Casey. And row 11, Michael Key, another Frito Sport Racing driver, alongside a teammate there, Patrick Prevenus. The outside of row 11, 22 drivers set to start this race.
All right, and there you go. And as Larry ran down the grid, of course, we are going to have a single grid here, have both classes, both the pro and open classes, mixed in together. And so it might be a little bit of a challenge. Rachel Williams there having to leapfrog a couple of the pro drivers to get up to Brennan Horn, our pole sitter, in the open class. And as they come through, looks like, well, actually, we had a few drivers that didn't make the grid, I think, Larry, so that may not be an issue. We'll have to take a look here as they come through to take the green flag to start this race, as our drivers now are making their way here around the course on their opening pace lap. Now, what will happen here is when the drivers come out of the final corner, turn 15 out of bleachers onto the front straight, that will begin a start zone. And essentially racing will begin once our pole sitter starts to accelerate. None of the other drivers can go and accelerate past until our pole sitter does, and that will initiate our stewards, our starters, giving the green flag as opposed to the normal iRacing green flag. So we'll be on the lookout there as our front row of Mike Dam and John Allen will head onto the front straight side by side. We'll see which driver gets a better jump, and most importantly, we'll get to see as the drivers make that long run down to the Senna S's.
Keep your eyes on Hartley and Mack, that second row of this place. Depending on how early the flag drops, they can get a great run into one and make this a 3 wide and have a shot to make a pass over.
That's just what I was going to say, Larry, is have to sit back and watch as the drivers fan out and then under hard braking going into turns 1 and 2. And we're going to probably see that here as our pole sitter now. Mike Dam has the field coming around the final corner here, and he is underway, and we have a green flag as both Dam and Allen get a great jump, as does Robert Hartley. Greg Mack, who we spoke about, fell a little bit behind.
We got contact early.
Contact.
It's Mack, too.
Yeah, Greg Mack going around, and he's going to drop back through the field as he impacts the wall. That will move up Robert Hartley into third.
And another move. This looks like the 56 and Mitchell Peak now sideways.
Yeah, we've got two of the eSport Racing machines getting together there. And yeah, that was, and I think Greg Brockway might have been, well, there's Brockway in the 62 machine. Thought he might have been involved there
He was,
as well. Brennan Horan, our pole sitter in the open class, was involved in that second incident. He has now fallen back to 8th in the open class. So he's got a long way, and we see now a huge breakaway here at the front of the field in our pro class, as we now have Hartley and, surprise, surprise, Mr. Aggressive Randall McGrew in the number 67 machine, part of that 4-car breakaway here at the start with Jordy Fike and David Payton. Not all that far back, but then a huge gap, Larry, back to Thorman, Vigas, Daniel, and Dean Dibdahl in the number 19 machine, your leader currently in the open class.
Yes, and already with a little bit of rubbing racing going on there on that left rear fender of his early in this race. But I think surviving those first couple of corners coming down the Senna S's might be the key to tonight. I already under investigation is the Chris Thorman and Greg Mack contact that may have started some of that. But then seeing, like we mentioned about Mitchell Peak, a few others, because as they came down through the S's, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And a couple of drivers already, including Greg Mack and Mitchell Peak are already in the pits, and that's not looking
As
good for that team.
as is Brennan Horn now as well.
Yeah, so it's a rough start. But as you mentioned, we got a 6-car breakaway at the front with your pole sitter Mike Dam and John Allen, who is also in the front row, already occupying the front too. And Hartley, now, like you mentioned, McGrew, as we catch a replay here at the start. And what you'll see on the inside is you're going to see Greg Mack just get tapped under braking and get turned to that inside wall. And you can see Peak's got nowhere to go. That's the 56 coming at him right now. So
his Mac goes right in front of him. There was nothing that he could do, even though he was all the way down to the inside there.
And from there, Thorman's trying to get back out of the way, but behind them, everybody checks up. A lot of grass going on the outside. And as they went down the S's, it didn't get much better from there, as there were a couple of incidents at the bottom of the S's as well. So really rough start here on the opening round, opening corners.
All right, let's jump back here now as we take a look at this is right now the battle for third in the open class. We've got Michael Key in the 98 machine. We've got Rachel Williams. Williams in that 777 machine. She had fallen back just a little bit on the start, but she retakes third position now from Michael Key. Just ahead, we've got Jeff Jacobs running 9th in the pro class, and then Williams has a run to our 2 leaders in the open class, Dean Dibdahl and Nick Carcino. And for those of you watching at home, again, if you want to take a look, the drivers that have the red mirrors on their cars, they are in the open class. The black mirrored cars are in the pro class.
And we're going to see a lot of intermingling between them in the series. Always do, because they do start on the same grid. Obviously, when they're the same make of car, iRacing doesn't really allow you to do kind of a split grid like it naturally would do with like our GT3s and LMP2 type races in the World Challenge. But here in this series, they intermix, which makes it fascinating as they go along. And you see things like Jacobs and Parsino kind of coming together here as they are going down that front straightaway, as well as a few others. But it's going to make for some great racing, because there's 3 cars there in the open class and Jeff Jacobs from the pro class nestled right in between them.
Here we go, and Parsino trying to get back at him. Cannot get it done going down into turn 1. Doesn't look like he's giving up though, as he
great line
tries
by
to sneak
That's
underneath.
The right line there. Yeah, you brake. Almost feels like you're over braking, but if you can cut that first curve, you can get on the gas so early down the second, flat out down around essentially turns 2 and 3. And Jacobs did not get a great run. But we're going to flash to the front of the field here with Mike Dam leading this train. And this is where you start to wonder if someone like a Hartley, who's just sitting here in third in this, is just going to try and save some fuel. And with McGrew back there, we'll see if he can as well. But that top 4 is starting to gap a little bit to Jordy Fike and David Payton in the 5th and 6th spots. Now you see that line, especially Hartley, cutting across the right side curve there on that turn 8. As they go through 9, it's really, like you mentioned about the camber around this place, is turn 9 is one of those examples. It's like a little bowl turn.
Yeah, and you can see here as the drivers are trying to use every last inch of the pavement, using all of that curbing there, and doing what they can to when the track layout and the camber will allow it to go and open up those corners as much as possible, straighten them out so that they can get the power down. And you can see here using every last inch of that curbing out on the outside there, as they now open things up and start to make their way around the final corners here.
Now here's the rest of the replay here from the opening S's. We saw Peak at a little bit of contact before, and then gets tangled there with, I think it's Rathje in the 41.
The 41 machine,
He's just then in the middle of the track, nowhere to go for anybody behind them.
And there we go, Brennan Horn getting caught up in it. Yeah.
One after another. So rough start for someone like Greg Mack, Mitchell Peak, a couple of teammates there who we knew were going to be a part of this series, going to be a front runner as the series goes on. It's a rough way to start the race out, start out the season.
And there we go. We can see once again Nick Parsino trying to make his way around Jeff Jacobs, get up into that battle for the lead in the open class. He's got Dean Dibdahl just a couple cars ahead.
And this is where Jacobs has a little bit of draft up in front of him with Steve Daniel, and that helps. As one driver gets some draft, it pulls the next one along, and you end up with these trains down here on this opening main straightaway after the opening S's. And then they get it again as they come out of turn 5, I believe it is here, and head up to this climbing uphill right-hander up ahead. And it's just this draft that bunches them up and often creates side-by-sides here as they come up towards turn 8 and turn 9.
Yeah, a little bit of brake lock up there from Dean Dibdahl. heading into the corner. You might have just seen across your screen that the stewards have taken a look at the incident here on the opening lap between Rafji and Peak, and have decided to take no action.
Yeah, and it's tough. You know, you look at those kind of replays, and it's just a lot of cars in a small space, and I don't think there was really much anybody could do. Really nowhere to go, and it's just an unfortunate incident. But it's part of what happens in a draft series like this when you go green pretty early. It takes a ton of patience to keep those things from happening, and yeah, everyone's excited. We're excited watching it. I think the drivers are a little bit, maybe a few cases, a little bit too excited for that green flag to drop, and we'll see. We'll see how this front five now plays out.
And here we go. Looks like we've got a run now with John Allen with Robert Hartley close behind. Going to try and draft past our leader, Mike Dam, as they come down into turn one. Allen sticks it to the outside and not quite close enough here, as it looks like Mike Dam is going to be able to hold on to the position, but just back behind. Hartley comes under attack from Randall McGrew in the number 67 machine. McGrew for a moment there side by side as they went through turn three, probably through turn two, but again, not quite close enough. But the battle is starting, Larry, just 7 minutes into the race.
It was. You saw there as Hartley tried to maybe follow Allen, as Allen was kind of getting alongside of Mike Dam. Hartley thought maybe he could duck underneath, and he slowed up just enough for McGrew to kind of attack him, as you said. And so what's going to start happening as people start losing patience. Look at this battle. We're back to the Jeff Jacobs in the middle of this Parsono and Dean Dibdall out there in front of them.
Yeah, and so Jacobs just overtook the 96 of Steve Daniel. That was, I believe, a battle for position in the pro class.
Daniel, he's got the red mirrors on.
Well, maybe. Yeah, well,
class.
Taking a look, I'm seeing showing him in timing and scoring. Well, we'll figure that out.
He's wearing red mirrors, so
yeah. Well,
we're not sure what that means.
You know, you
tonight.
can't have two drivers in the lead in the open class.
It's good racing nonetheless, regardless of what class they're in, right? They're all racing each other. They don't care what mirror colors they have.
Yeah, exactly. All right, as we jump back up to that battle for the lead with that 5-car breakaway here, and the gap from the gap from Fike back to David Payton. Running in 6th, almost 3 seconds now. As you can see there, as Payton just now makes his way around out of 14 and starts to make the run up towards the front straight.
And Mike Dam is setting a pretty tremendous pace here. 51.2 is his best, 51.6 his last time by. That's a flying pace here, leading a pack of 4 others with this front pack of 5. And they are just motoring away, to say it. Jordy Fike has just sort of faded back a little bit, and then you get all the way down to Peyton and Vigas and the rest of the group. But this front group is just screaming along right now. And we've seen this before, where John Allen gets in one of these mixes. I remember last season or season before at a race at, I think it was up at Watkins Glen, and John Allen was in one of these trains. And at some point, we talked to him in the post-race interview. He said he just kind of got bored and wanted to start mixing it up. And I wonder how long before John Allen says it's time to mix it up and start making a move.
Yeah, and well, you have to ask yourself, Larry, with 5 cars here, does it make sense to start mixing it up early, or do you try to work with Mike Dam to maybe separate yourself out? Do you think you can separate yourself out from Hartley, McGrew, and Fike?
I doubt it.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to get away. I think because you've got people like Hartley, who's won this class in the past, I don't think you're going to get away from him. Right. And I think with McGrew and Fike there as well, I think they're going to be under pressure all night long. So for John Allen, if you're just bored, it's time to just start mixing it up. And the worst thing that happens is you drop back the tail end of this group of 5, which, you know, overcuts happen later on. And, you know, could happen. But if I'm John Allen, I might start sticking a nose in here and there. Look at these battles, speaking of sticking a nose in.
Yeah, as the 79 of Parsono gets around Steve Daniel. So move Parsono now up into 2nd. In the open class, and he's got Dean Dibdall just a couple car lengths ahead of him. Parsono on quite a run after he had had his little tete-a-tete with Jeff Jacobs.
And Jacobs able to clear that whole train there, as we saw him make his way by each one of them. So we'll see what Parsono's got for Dibdall now in those nearly identical cars. Hard to tell them apart as we flash back to Greg Brockway. I think he's in a battle here. Looks like with John Casey.
Indeed, it is.
John
Casey in the 78 machine. Just
it's
behind.
Brockway and Key. Actually, I think that might be Michael Key.
Oh, yeah, you're right. 98, the 98 machine, and regardless of
gonna
what
get
our
underneath.
timing and scoring. I think we got the timing and scoring fixed up here. So this is indeed the battle for the battle for fourth in the open class.
Oh, look at this little up and under. This is where the pressure starts. You got to get tucked underneath a little bit into turn 1. Maybe you don't get the line yet, but as you come off at turn 3 here down this straightaway, you have a chance. And look at this. It'll go up and under again, and probably side by side through the next left-handers, both turns 4 and 5. You just watch them. Here they go. Right down the hill here.
Yeah,
and
great.
This. Yep.
Great move there by Brockway. A little bit later on the brakes as he sneaks underneath Key going into turn 1, and look right behind is John Casey. I got it wrong before, but Casey's now worked himself into this battle as well.
You had a vision that Casey was going to be a part of this. That's right. I said the same thing. I led you to that. It's my fault. But he's making a believer out of all of us. As we have a new leader in the race, John Allen got antsy, said it's time to go past Mike Dam, and he does. So he's now leading this way. Assuming he holds it across the line, he'll lead a lap, and we're going to catch a replay of when and how that happened.
All right, as they come into turn 1 here, come into the Senna S, and traditional braking turn here, passing opportunity is.
This should be turn 4 at the end of the straightaway after the S's.
Okay.
And they've got a different. It's that pit lane entrance kind of comes in. There may be a grid lane down there. It makes it look like it. But he's got the lead now coming down here. We'll see if Greg Mack and we can see if Mike Dam makes a run back at him. It looks like he might. He's right up underneath the tail of him.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot the pit lane exit here is on the back straight, or otherwise known as the opposite straight here at Interlagos. Very long pit exit for these drivers as they leave the pit lane here. But
I just can't believe you're not using the Portuguese pronunciation.
Oh, please.
Reta Opesta, I think is what they call the opposite straight. We'll work on that. We'll get you speaking Portuguese.
Thanks, Larry. I failed Spanish. I failed French. I don't think this is the time for me to take up Portuguese.
You didn't have motorsports.
There are already drinking games involving us and some of these drivers. So
if you knew that motorsports was the reason to learn those languages, you would have been speaking those from the beginning.
That very true.
But I do wonder here with Hartley showing some patience, if maybe could be just kind of sipping the fuel just lightly and saying, go ahead, Mike Dam, John Allen, if you guys want to go ahead and play and waste all your fuel, go for it. Be the front of the flock of geese and waste all your energy. He's just going to sit back in the draft and kind of wait. He could make a fool out of me too and just make a jump past both of them going into 1 here, but wouldn't be a bad idea for the long stretch of this race as we're only about a quarter of the way through it to maybe sip some fuel and just sort of hang on to it.
Well, here we go again as they start to make their way down the front straight. And this time it's the front straight into the Senna S, Larry, as we now have a new leader once again, and it's Mike Dam as he retakes the lead from John Allen. Hartley there, who we're sitting on board with right now, sitting in third. It looks like Hartley's going to try and sneak underneath John Allen as they come out of the S's and start to make their way down that very long back straight here into turn 4. Into Lake's descent as they drop down and in, and yet we have,
McGrew's going to take a look too, coming off of this.
Yeah, McGrew
Allen's going to leave the door open, but he's going to get a look.
Yeah, as Allen stuck the car out, took the traditional line down through turn 4 and 5, and for a moment there, it looked like the 67 car might try to sneak underneath, just was not close enough to do it.
I was watching Jordy fight back there also, kind of nosing around. He was kind of coming up alongside of McGrew there for a second to see what's happening up there, maybe just to get a better look. These guys are, hey, it's my turn.
Yeah. And for the time being, Mike Dam has opened up a small advantage now, about 2.5 car lengths over Robert Hartley, our new second-place runner in the number 3 machine.
Yeah, those teammates would love to just pull away, but I don't think Allen, McGrew, and Fike are going to let them, as I think Allen's going to stay right on the back of Hartley here. And the way this place plays out is they'll come up the straightaway just after turn 12 here, and I bet by the time they're at turn 1, it's going to be about a 3/10 lead from the 7/10 it was, and we'll be right back to where we started from a lap ago. The way this place plays. Just that drag, you just see it. Just watch that time delta drop down 6/10. down to 5/10, and by the time they come to braking, it's going to be under 4. Which is crazy how this plays. That draft is so powerful down that long straightaway.
Yeah, and you could even see there is a Dam adjusted his line just a little bit on the run into turn 1 to hold off a passing opportunity that maybe was there. Oh, yeah,
little wide coming down the S's there, and kind of hung a tire there. That's dangerous because you can high center the car and dig a tire into that grassy inside. He's able to just kind of keep his foot in it and use his hand to catch it.
Yeah, probably one of the only curbs here, Larry, that can do that to a car.
You could use about 80% of it, but if you try to go for 85, you're going to be hurting.
All right, let's jump back now over to the battle for the lead in the open class. It is still Dean Dibdahl in the number 19 machine over Nick Parsono. Then you can see here, bottled up just a little bit as they both made up room on Jeff Jacobs.
That picture of Dean Dibdahl is not today's picture. I can promise you that.
I said he was like 13, not 3, and certainly not racing a big wheel here.
I think his dad's having fun with the profile pictures. Yeah, but this is going to be a great battle, I think, between these two. In fact, it's such a good close battle, I can't even tell them apart with 19 and 79 in the cars. I got to kind of squint my eyes a little bit and say, which number is that again that's in the lead? It is still Dean leading this little pack. But he's also staying in the back of Jeff Jacobs. This is what I talked about at the beginning. You know, these new faces having to come in, and Dean Dibdahl's one of them, to have to come into a series like this and figure out who are you racing against. It's not just lapping around a track for fast times. You got to know what you can do around and who you can do it near. And Dean's figuring that out. You know, Jeff got by him, but he's going to stick to the back of Jeff and kind of, you know, learn a little bit from the veteran. Maybe learn how to drive a wide car, is what we was talking about with Jeff. And Dean's going to pick up a few things as he goes along, and you watch, he'll pick up the pace a little bit, and I think as this race plays on, he'll be one of those that might be in a position to continue to lead this class and maybe win a few rounds here in the open class.
All right, let's jump back up to the battle for the lead, and Larry, our leaders haven't really, looks like Hartley hasn't really closed things down all that much.
Always wonder what the radiator of an MX-5 looks like, as we get a good view of it there.
Yeah, but yeah. I actually almost saw what the fuel cell looked like there for a moment.
Yeah, I think John Allen's going to stay right on close to Robert Hartley, kind of push him along a little bit, even if it's either bumping or at least giving him the push draft, as we call it, to keep him going around here. I'm just waiting for Fike and McGrew back there to kind of get a little bit impatient as well, to start mixing it up.
Well, I mean, we've seen McGrew, you know, be opportunistic. When he's had the opportunity, I guess that doesn't make a lot of sense. But you know, again, just not quite close enough. I think it's all going to be dependent on what John Allen does there, in how both Fike and McGrew react. But at the moment here, you know, John Allen, he's not really in a position to try and step out on Hartley. If he does now, you know, I think both he and Hartley run the risk of maybe losing a little bit more ground to our leader, Mike Dam.
Yeah, I think that's always the risk if you start mixing it up a little bit, as you start creating those gaps. And around here, you do want to keep that gap at less than like 1.2, and any more than that, it's hard to catch it back up because you start to lose that draft. But you can play around. If you're 2-3 tenths, you know, bumper bumper, you can try a corner or two. But if you go for 3, 4, 5 corners in a row, side by side, yeah, you're going to lose that leader, and they're going to start pulling away. You could still potentially rope them back in, but it's always never an easy thing.
Well, and now Hartley has made his way back up to the rear bumper of his teammate Mike Dam as they head down into Senna S into turns 1 and 2. And a little bobble there from our second place runner Hartley, and John Allen for a moment there tried to sneak underneath. Could not get quite close enough.
Not enough, but it certainly is getting tight up there. I guess we're now a third of the way through this thing, and you start to get a little antsy. You know, you start to figure out, I'm going to learn what the habits are of the folks in front, so that as you get to the end of the race, you kind of gathered all that data and you can apply it to make that finishing move to take that position right at the end. So a lot of this right now is just sort of that taking notes on the habits and the trends of the folks around you.
It's still so interesting here, Larry, to see the differing lines that some of these drivers will take here, as opposed to, you know, again, playing follow the leader as they're trying to, maybe get in the mirrors of the driver ahead, maybe trying to figure out a slightly faster way around so that they can make up, so that they can stick on the bumper of that car ahead of them. Just these neat little things that you see over the course of a race, and as the fuel starts to burn off. Now, let's talk a little bit, as we're now just about 22 minutes into this 60-minute race, Larry, about pit stops. Essentially what we're seeing here, because we filled the drivers' cars up initially with no more than about 45% of a full tank for an MX-5, that's about a little bit less than 5.5 gallons. We think that the drivers can do somewhere along the lines of 19 laps on a tank of gas. We also think, based on what we saw in testing during the week, that they'll probably end up going about 32 laps for the entire race. So we would expect now that the pit window for these drivers is going to be opening right about now, as a matter of fact.
It should definitely be opening, and I don't know if anyone in this group of 5 at the front here is going to break away, because you run the risk that you get into traffic, or you can't run as fast by yourself as you can in a pack. But certainly I would say that no knock on Jordy Fike and Randall McGrew, but I think the pace is being pulled for them from Mike Dam and Hartley and John Allen. And I don't think we're going to see much of a breakaway. It wouldn't be surprising to see, especially the teammates perhaps of Dam and Hartley, might be working together and maybe decide to coordinate their stops so they have a buddy to draft with as they come out of it. We'll kind of see how that plays out as it goes along, but I don't know if anyone in this group is going to try an undercut. Now, where you might see it is some of the other battles we got going on. You've got Peyton and Thorman right now. You've got Dibdahl and Steve Daniel. These guys maybe you might see some undercutting, and to see if they can maybe swap a position here if someone feels like they could run a faster pace by themselves. And
as you're saying that, Larry, let's jump in as we're taking a look right now. In that battle for the lead in the open classes, we do have a new leader. It is Nick Parsono, has gotten around Dean Dibdahl. And, this was going to be one of those things that I was thinking about, Larry, especially in the case of Dean Dibdahl. How does he determine when he should take that pit stop, especially in a battle like this that where he and Parsono just seem to be not necessarily swapping positions every lap, but have also, much like our overall leaders, been running very, very close here with really seemingly no rhyme or reason to which driver is in the lead at any one time. They seem to be driving very well,
as I thought no one would come in for the front pack that would be different, and just on cue, Mike Dam decides he's going to come in and be the different one in the front pack.
Yeah, so our former leader now, Mike Dam, comes in. That will elevate Robert Hartley to the lead with John Allen second, McGrew, Fike running third and fourth.
Well. Yeah, you see him up in the air taking the right side tires. Critical around here, because you can do a tire change as one side of the car faster than you can take on the fuel. So you have to really take the tires if you want. And because there's so many long left-hand corners around here, totally makes sense to take those right side tires as you get to the end of the race. We'll expect all the others to do that as well. Now I'm wondering, does anybody else come in this next lap knowing that they should come out around the same time as Mike Dam and have a drafting buddy?
And yeah, I was just going to say, and seeing that we did not see Hartley come in with Dam to head out together, will we see Hartley perhaps on similar strategy come in very early, come in this lap? And then the question that I always have, Larry, because we've seen in past races here in the Classic Sprint Series, John Allen, he has. I guess it's more of a question that he's run very low on fuel at the very end of a race. He's had issues with fuel levels. Is that going to affect him, and is he going to maybe stretch that window as long as he can, and maybe overfill the car just a little bit and come out late?
It always comes into play. It's always one of those things that do you take that extra tenth, do you not take the extra tenth? And we've seen in the past drivers like John Allen, as well as a few others, have short-filled the car and struggled toward the end of the race and have run out or nearly run out. Here comes Randall McGrew. He's going to come in for his stop. The other one we were talking about before the break there for
Dibdahl
Mike Dam
and Parsono.
was the Dibdahl Parsono, right? So Dibdahl's gone back ahead in that battle. But Dibdahl, this is his first race in the series, right? This is his first opportunity to see what is it like at speed to have to make that decision quickly on the fly of, do I pit now? Do I wait a couple of laps? This is one of those learning opportunities that it's really kind of fun to watch this develop and watch the driver learn. He's in this great battle with Parsono, but does he give that up? Does he wait another lap? or or does he come in as one of these other guys come in around him?
Or does Parsono have to deal with Steve Daniel sitting right on his 6 right now, and does that affect Dibdahl's decisions as well, as perhaps Dibdahl is able to open things up just a little bit from the 79 and the 96 machines. Now, we did notice that John Allen did manage to get around Robert Hartley up at the front of the field, so he is your new leader. Hartley running second, Fike third, Thorman fourth, David Payton fifth, Clint Vigas sixth. That is your top 6 in the pro class. And if we take a look at the open class, it is, as we're watching right now, Dibdahl, Parsono, Steve Daniel. Then we've got one of our pro class drivers, Tom Arathke, but then we drop down, and running 4th in the open class is Rachel Williams with Greg Brockway and I believe John Casey, who is now in the pits running in 7th.
Yeah, the pits are getting busy right now. We saw Jeff Jacobs go in there. We know that a few of the other front runners have gone in. So I'm just kind of waiting to see where Mike Dam is. As the board makes it look like we've got a right now.
Look at this. As Dean Dibdahl goes around, and we were actually just
together.
Oh, so the 2 drivers got together. Let's take a look at a replay here.
That's Parsono trailing Dibdahl right now.
Oh, and a late lunge by Parsono gets into the right corner, the right rear corner of Dibdahl. Both of those drivers come to a complete stop. That has now elevated Rachel Williams in the 777 machine. There you can see her right there. She is your new leader in the open class. Dibdahl does not, well, actually, no, I believe that moves Williams. Actually. Yeah, that will move.
With all the pit stops, I'm not even sure you want to try and call it right now.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, I was going to say, for the moment, that actually put Steve Daniel up into the lead, but Daniel comes down into the pits. So now Rachel Williams, it was a couple minutes late, but Rachel Williams is now your leader in the open class. Parsono in 2nd, as we have both Daniel and Dibdahl, as well as Greg Brockway, all in the pits currently.
So one of the things we got to talk about here is Mike Dam was in the lead of this race when he came into the stop. A lap later, we saw Randall McGrew come in for his stop. Randall's pit stop time was about 26 seconds. On the board, Mike Dam's looks like 1:05. Mike Dam is now running about, 15th overall, and he's a lot of time behind the rest of the group that did come in.
So I wonder, did he overfill, or did he take? Because it looked like he only took the one set of tires, or the one side of tires. He didn't take both sides.
I can only imagine that maybe when we took the camera away, that maybe he popped the second side up and took those. But that is a long pit stop for Mike Dam, and that's a bit of a killer here in this race. So we'll have to kind of follow up with that. But he's a chunk of time behind Randall McGrew, who those two were essentially, the 5 of them were in that pack when they both came in. So that really means that the race now is kind of falling to John Allen and Robert Hartley and Jordy Fike, who's had a pretty good pit stop of his own. So we'll see at the point where Fike gets underway, and we'll see what happens when Hartley and John Allen finally do make their stops here in the next couple of laps. Really shaking things up. We'll see how, because it looks like Fike came out, let's see, he came out right now, he's 8th overall, and he is ahead of McGrew by about 2 seconds.
I was going to say about 2 seconds, which was actually the differential in the pit lane as well.
Yeah, great stop there for Jordy Fike. Put himself in a pretty good position. We'll see where he is in terms of, there he is, clear track out in front of him. A little bit of slide coming down the S's there. Not always a bad thing. But we'll see what he can do, and really gonna be interested to see what happens when Allen and Hartley do finally get in for their stops. They're running together, which means even a little bit of push draft, a little bit of pull draft, they can run some pretty quick times. Jordy Fike's, he's finally on his first flyer after coming out. So we'll see what his
you can see that. You can see how loose that car got under braking right there. As he had to get the thing back under control.
It's coming to grips with one side of the car having fresh tires, the other side having older tires. Takes a little bit for that balance to sort of come together, and for the cold side of the car to heat up.
All right, you can see our leaders now starting to make their way back up the hill through 14, and then onto the front straight here. And Allen gets a great run there, but again with the draft here, kind of difficult to shake him. So, Larry, we're just about a little bit more than halfway through this race. Let's take a quick break, and hopefully we won't see we won't see a huge change here. Real quick, before we do, as you can see here up on the screen, it looks like Parsino has been assessed the drive-through penalty for that incident with Dean Dibdahl, so that might shake things up just a little bit more in the open class. But, Larry, let's go. We'll take that break and be back here in just a few moments. You are watching the opening round of Season 19 of the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performatech Elite Texas Graphics here at Interlagos, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we're back here at Interlagos for the opening round of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series, season number 19. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry McLeod. And Larry, still a great battle on up at the front of the field with John Allen and Robert Hartley as we have more of our drivers starting to cycle through on their single pit stops here this evening.
Yeah, that's starting to really cycle through. Very, very few drivers left to get theirs. We got a good shot of Chris Thorman now just getting back underway after taking his tires and fuel. He was running, I think, in the top six at the point he came in. We'll see how that shakes out once the other drivers all finally do come in. It looks like the only three left are John Allen, Robert Hartley, and Rachel Williams, the only three that haven't stopped. Rachel been pretty quick today.
Oh, look at this. As John Allen runs wide. Is Hartley going to, and I don't know if it's going to matter all that much here. These drivers are still nose to tail, but getting towards the end of that pit window.
This might be it. This might be the lap. They both come in, and they're both going to come out. The question will be Jordy Fike, who's been running essentially the same lap times as these two guys. And Jordy, I believe, looking at the board, had probably one of the shortest pit stops. So we'll see if this is the lap these two tuck in.
Yeah, and there you go. Both drivers. We knew that pit window was going to be open until about lap 19. And there you go. At the end of lap 19, both John Allen and Robert Hartley duck into the pits together.
And it looks like Rachel Williams coming in right behind them in that shot we just saw. So all three of the remaining drivers maybe should be coming in as she's just now coming onto that front straight.
And Rachel Williams, she'll be pitting in from the lead of the open class when she comes in.
Unless she manages to get one more lap of fuel out of that car and take the overall.
And John Allen, first car off the jack stands as they continue to fill up. And John Allen taking all four tires, as is Hartley.
This is interesting, and that's what I wondered about Mike Dam. Even Dam's stop was a lot slower.
And look at this as we have Jordy Fike and Randall McGrew making their way around, coming through the S's, and will our leaders. Oh, John Allen having trouble in the pit lane, impacts the wall, and he loses a tire. That effectively, well, he just regained a tire. There you go. Look at that. That's
Yeah.
the best pit. So John Allen with 5 tires changed here on the pit window as he comes out, but he is going to come out in 4th position. And I'll tell you, Robert Hartley got lucky there, only coming out just behind Jordy Fike, as Hartley had to check up right behind John Allen. Let's take a look at the replay here.
I can tell you, coming out of this pits is tough because you can see him a little bit wide there. You got cold tires. He's trying to put some heat in them. Look how much sliding he's doing. And it just gets away from him. And you're right about Hartley behind him. Just was lucky to avoid him and take the fight up to Jordy Fike, because John Allen easily could have taken out both of them. John's very lucky to still be going at speed. But your new leader for the race is Jordy Fike. He is now taking the overall lead. He's got a couple of second margin on Hartley. So now it's on Hartley. He's got 23 minutes to close up, about a second and a half, and make a fight out of this. But Jordy Fike may not have been on anybody's fantasy Ricmotech league picks to win this thing. But
no,
coming out of the pits after a great pit stop, he's got the lead by about a second and a half. And for Hartley, he's got to watch behind him, because he's got a Randall McGrew not too far behind. It might have something to say to maybe take the fight to Hartley, and that could only help Jordy Fike.
Oh, and look at this. Is he coming in? No, nope. I was gonna say, I thought he'd already come in for his pit stop, and it looked like there was a moment of indecision there.
Yeah, Interlagos is one of those places where you use almost that entire pit entry lane to your advantage, and then you cut right back to the main track at the last seconds. It's always hard to tell. As we're getting word from our director, our producer here, that maybe there was a pit speed limit penalty issued to Mike Dam, and that could have been the reason why he was held.
That would have added quite a bit of time for him, as Dam is currently sitting back in 9th, probably in 10th position here in the Pro Class, and that would certainly explain it. And there he is, right in the middle of a lot of traffic here. Interesting to note, Rachel Williams, and as she completed her pit cycle there, she is, and there we go as we jump back to her on her first lap under new tires. She is your leader in the open class. Again, in practice today, she was the fastest of all the open class drivers. Dean Dibdahl almost 9 seconds in arrears after that unfortunate incident with Nick Parsono just a few laps ago. Parsono running in 3rd with Brockway and Key running back behind. Actually, let's take that.
Might be the leader in there.
You know what? I keep messing it up here as Daniel.
There's your leader.
Yeah, there's our leader there.
He's going to be sending you a letter.
Larry.
Steve, you can send those letters to Greg Ginsburg. Don't forget 2 G's in Greg, 3 G's in Greg, all the G's.
I might have to send a letter myself to the timing and scoring developer. As we watch now, is looks like Dibdahl and Parsono. This is the battle for the last step on the podium in the open class. They are at it again, and at the scene of the crime right there, and Parsono decides not to come up the inside that time by. But you can see, Larry, there is even checked up right back behind Dibdahl, and that's a section of track where he might be able to carry a little bit more pace, but just can't get the car up alongside, obviously, while going into that complex.
Now, Parsono was given a drive-through penalty for the incident that we did see the replay of, where he kind of got in the back of Dibdahl. I assume he's served that penalty already?
I'm looking, and I show him as only having taken 1 pit stop, Larry. So I don't know if that's the case.
If he hasn't, he'll need to do that within a certain number of laps. Otherwise, he will get booted from the sim. And maybe this is the lap he's going to do it. But it's sad. I mean, it's unfortunate they had the incident, because he seems to have been fighting it out really right from the beginning. And so it's a deserved penalty. But one of those that's unfortunate that it all had to happen, because this fight could have been going on all night, as he's not serving it right now.
Yeah.
Unless he already has, and we just missed something. But either way, we're going to go right back to the front, as it looks like Hartley has done his work. He's cut the lead down, and now with 20 minutes to go, we're going to have 20 minutes of about 11 or 12 laps of Hartley and Fike for the lead, unless McGrew can get up there, or John Allen can get up there and say something about it.
Yeah, and they're currently sitting 2+ seconds back. So a long way to go from the get up into that battle. But there you go, Hartley all over the back of our current leader, Jordy Fike, who started in 8th position today. So he's made up 7 spots to take over the lead, with now just a bit under 20 minutes remaining in the 60-minute race.
This is great. Great to see his pace. It's what we talked about at the opening too, and opportunities for folks that in the past maybe had kind of worked their way through this series and had some experience. But we've got a pass now. It looks like Hartley's going to take the inside. A little bit of draft there on Jordy Fike. They should have that lead. He does. Car length going into turn 1. But for Fike, it's an opportunity. He's going to move up the ranks, use some of the experience he's built over the last couple of years, and apply it here. And right now in a really good position for a strong finish for Jordy Fike, as you said, from 8th on the grid. Right now running 2nd. It's a great showing so far. Not over yet with McGrew and Allen still lurking in the background there.
A lot of time left here, and at this point, if Allen can get a little bit closer to the back of McGrew, they might be able to work together.
Allen is the fastest car on the track right now. Last time by 51.5 for him. All these other drivers 52.2, 52.6. So Allen right now is chipping away a little bit, but he's going to run out of limited resources to do it. He's going to have to push McGrew along to probably get up there, and it's going to be a tough road as he's right now about 3 seconds back from the Hartley and Fike battle. Good view of Jeff Jacobs there, currently running 9th. Catch up to Tom Rathje in that number in the 8th position there in that number 41. Jeff looking pretty racy tonight. Managed, as we saw him in the opening lap, managed to kind of snake his way through the carnage as the smoke was just billowing around. There's this little yellow Street Survival with the big Philadelphia bell on the side kind of poking through. And sometimes survival allows for good finishes, and for Jacobs right now, sitting in the top 9. Good fight so far, but trying to get around Tom Rathje here for 8th. Hartley pulling away from Jordy Fike.
I was just going to say, as soon as he made that pass, started to work himself clear of Fike fairly easily, as he's now opened up just about a 1 second gap, and Fike almost out of draft range there. As that last time by, Fike, not all that much off the pace of McGrew, and at least off of McGrew, but Hartley putting in a flyer, puts in a 151.24. That was even faster than John Allen's been running recently, but more importantly, almost a full second faster than both Fike and McGrew can manage currently.
But if you notice there, and Fike did what you have to, when you're at that margin of 1 second, you're coming down the straightaway to the center S's there, the opening S's 1, 2, and 3. You have to nail that turn in perfectly, or you will lose that draft and your race is over. Jordy Fike appears to have done exactly what he needed to do, cut that 1.1 second gap down to 0.4, and makes a race out of this. But as you had said, McGrew and Allen, that's going to get harder and harder for them. The faster that this pace from Hartley, he starts to dictate the front, and it could start pulling away, he and Fike.
Yeah, and and then it's a question of strategy. I would think, having watched many of Randall McGrew's races, he might be reticent to give up that last spot on the podium. He might not be willing to work with Allen to get back up to our leaders, and might just decide, he's in a good spot and go it alone there to try to hold off Allen for the rest of the race.
A couple of feisty drivers, but again, we're kind of watching that gap there. Allen now under 3 seconds back. It was 3.9 about a lap and a half ago. I'm thinking that this may not be over for John Allen, and certainly on the tail of McGrew. If the two of them can work together just a little bit, limit their side-by-sides, they could catch this front two for the last couple laps and make this really interesting. But Fike, right on the tail of Hartley out in front.
Yeah, and look at this, as John Allen now has gotten right up to the back of McGrew.
Don't want to push alongside here because you don't want to be slow through these S's. But if you're Allen, you can hook your wagon to that hitch out in front of you, come down these S's with a head of steam, and maybe make a clean pass as you come to turn 4.
Going down to the 4.
And then you can maybe, if you do it clean, you don't lose time. If you can't do it clean, you're better off bump drafting on the way down, which maybe is what he's doing.
There you go, the little tap.
In fact, I'm hearing on the radio John Allen talking to McGrew, saying the only way we're going to get there is to work together. So they're definitely working together right now to try and cut to this. But Hartley and Fike out in front still moving along at a pretty good clip, as Fike now kind of showing Phil the mirrors there to Hartley.
Yeah, and that's another part of the equation there. If Fike gets a little spicy there and gets a little racy, that may bring that pair back to McGrew and Allen and make things just a little bit easier for them.
Well, if I can hear on the radio Allen talking to McGrew, then Fike can hear him as well. And he knows that going side by side with Hartley right now is not going to be in his favor. He's better off waiting until there's 3 laps left to make this fight, because any earlier you do that, and you are just going to bring McGrew and Allen right on up. And Hartley and Fike right now are putting on a pretty good pace. They don't want to ruin that rhythm if they can help it. Fascinating little chess match playing out here as we wind down the last 13 minutes or so.
Here we go as we throw up on the screen here, and you can see the lap differential past number of laps there as we can see how far back Fike is from our leader on the last 4 laps or so, and he is again staying out, and it looks like for a moment there going into the S's he decides to show the nose, but again Larry, as you mentioned, if you slow both the drivers down through here, you're not going to get a good run all the way up through Curva de Sol and over to turn 4.
Right, and I think Allen right now is trying to find a way to set up, and if you give a little more room going into the opening S's, you get a better run going down to turn 4. And he gave more room, but didn't quite get the run he was hoping for. McGrew still in front, but these guys are not gaining. That's back up to 4 seconds for Allen from the lead, and McGrew 3.5 seconds back of Fike. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think right now it looks like a 2-horse fight out the front, but this battle here, the 41 Rathje, and I think that's David Payton in the 64 there in the G2D iRacing outfit. I think these two, now with Jeff Jacobs behind them, this is going to be an interesting last couple laps in this pack.
Yeah, it is, and this is the battle right now for 7th in the pro class here, as we've got Payton side by side with Rathje, and Payton gets around the number 41 machine, so move David Payton now up into 7th.
Rathje had a big squirrely moment there under braking going into 4. Jeff Jacobs saw it, kind of pounce, and look at these, the 4 of them now with, guess who? Mike Dam right at the tail end of this, who our former leader. He's got pace. He's been running 51.1s, fastest car on the track, but now that he's got this pack, he's got to make his way through carefully. And Jacobs sitting in this nice spot. He's been following Rathje for a while. Payton made their way through. We'll see if Dan can make his way through, and who can break up this Rathje and Jacobs battle.
Oh, look at this now, coming out of 10, going into 11 here as Rathje has a bit of an issue there, and there we go. Now it is the number 64 of Payton actually had the issue. Rathje for a moment there got alongside, and David Payton, you can see him just licking his lips there, looking for a way through.
He definitely is trying. He's trying everything right now. And for Payton, he's just holding it inside lines. And you're going to go around, you're going to go on the outside. Jacob's going to follow him. And I'm kind of waiting to see where is Mike Dam, just sort of working in the background here. There's going to be a bump draft. See it there?
Yeah, there you go.
Jacobs on Rathje pushing along, saying, come on, we got to get by before the turn.
And I was just looking at that the one car that wasn't in that overhead shot was Mike Dam, as if he was just kind of sitting back and waiting for Armageddon to happen in front of him.
I think it's exactly what he was thinking too.
Yeah.
You know what? I can pick up 3 spaces real fast. But nope, everybody makes it through clean, and they've got what looks like the 66 of Mike Taylor.
Oh geez, yeah, here we go.
Trying to get out of their way. As Payton
as Taylor now moves to the inside and lets these 4 drivers through, but for a moment there, it looked as though Payton might take the wall.
Oh, it is getting hot and heavy here going down that Reta Opesta, down that back straight. As now Mike Dam's going to try and filter his way through. He gets past Jeff Jacobs. Now he's got Payton in front of him. Is he going to make a double move
for
here?
a second there, he was going to try and sneak underneath the 64 machine of Payton. Could not get it done. Payton went and covered him.
Yep. He's tried to go outside in 8. It's not there. Follows him through 9. Heading up to 10.
And to the slowest corner on the track here at turn 10. A little bit of brake lockup.
That curb. Love watching that. Just throw the car at the apex. It'll stick. Kind of an uphill corner, and it bites a lot more than you think based on looking at it.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of the toe of the boot at Watkins Glen. Very similar corner.
Yeah.
Here as we take a look now at John Allen and Randall McGrew once again. This is our, I don't want to say our battle for third right now, because we are under the impression that these two drivers are working together, trying to get their way back up to the lead pack, but still.
And my guess is with about 5 laps to go, I think visions of taking the lead in this race for those two are gone, and now it's a matter of fighting for that third step on the podium.
Yeah, as they continue, now about 4 seconds back from our lead pair, have really just in the last 3 laps or so fallen off the pace of the two leaders.
Yeah, and I think that's where they realized, have time to figure out who's going to finish in third, but up in the front, Bike is still just kind of all over the back of Hartley. This is turning into quite a finish for these two.
Yeah, at this point, Larry, I think it's given the gap back to McGrew and Allen, it should be pretty much battle on here. With now less than 8 minutes remaining in the 60-minute race on lap 28, and as again we talked about, probably expect this race to go somewhere along the lines of 32.
Replay here of Rafty coming together with Mike Dam.
Oh my gosh!
Just coming out of the turn 3 at the bottom of the S's there.
And Dam had nowhere to go.
And yeah, just nowhere to go. Just a little bit of a touch in the wrong place. And not a good way, not a good night there for Mike Dam all around. And tough way to go out there with Tom Rafty.
Yeah, so obviously that opens things up for David Payton, who's now got sole possession of 7th place in the number 64 machine. Jeff Jacobs in 8th.
Still got Jacobs on his tail. That's not over yet by a long shot. And neither is this battle for third. John Allen, I think he's just kind of waiting to pounce. He's just kind of sitting back, knowing that there's probably about 4 laps or so.
Yeah, just eliminating any opportunity for McGrew to fight back here. So it may even be another lap, even 2 laps before we see John Allen make the move. Quick note here, and this time I think I've got it right. But Rachel Williams, Larry, I'm going to say it now, and I've only got it wrong, 3 times? Rachel Williams is your current leader in the open class in the 777 machine, and you can see right behind her right now in that battle for the lead, Steve Daniel in the number 96, and they are very close. I think 0.3 of a second separate those two drivers here at the moment, as they have swapped positions now a number of times in the last few laps.
Yeah, it's gone real well there for Rachel, able to get around Steve Daniel and take that lead. So there's a big fight going on for the last couple laps, and here we've got this fight still going, Parsono and Dibdall.
And we still don't know if Parsono served the drive-through. He must have.
He was issued a black flag, and in iRacing, that's an automated thing. Once the admin clicks the black flag, then it has to be served within a couple of laps. So he must have served it. We just missed it. No big deal. The racing continues, and we get to enjoy this Dibdall and Parsono battle.
All right, we can see there, and I think they assessed the responsibility to Mike Dam in that incident with Tom Rafty. Mike Dam already in the pits. I think. And here we go, John Allen now.
We got moves all over the place with Allen, and we've got the Parsono and Dibdall battle. We've got the Daniel and Williams battle, and of course Jordy Fike and Hartley out in front. There's at least 4 or 5 positions up for grabs here with 5 minutes to go.
There we go. So John Allen, he gets around Randall McGrew. He takes over 3rd place overall, 3rd in the pro class here with just about 5 minutes remaining in our battle from Interlagos.
And Allen unable to see out the right side of his car because of a bit of a driver oops coming out of the pits from his pit stop about 20 minutes ago, and kind of lucky to be in this, that he didn't destroy the car and take out Robert Hartley in the mix. Hartley lucky he's out in the lead of this right now, fighting out with Jordy Fike, but for Allen, able to come off of that wall, and we were just sort of dangling over there. You can see it, and lucky the car's still pointing straight.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most surprising thing, because the impact with the Armco on the pit lane there, Larry, I would have expected it to do at least some damage to the alignment of the car, but things still seem to be in good shape here as we jump back to the battle for 7th. In the pro class, David Payton in the 64, Jeff Jacobs in that yellow number 38 machine. And as we have just under 4 minutes remaining, Jeff Jacobs not giving up the fight yet.
No, he's not. And this is a battle for 7th, and it may as well be for a battle for the lead. If you were to ask these two guys, they don't care what the number is on the ticker board where they're at. To them, it's a car for position. And for Jacobs, the veteran here would love to pick up a spot here at the expense of David Payton. But here, speaking of battles of veterans against newbies, Parsono and Dibdall side by side. I think that's down through turn 4 into
I was
turn
going to say
5.
that's in the going and dropping down through Lake's Descent there, and then make the short run over to the horseshoe. And Dibdall manages to hold off Parsono and up, and that's where Parsono had gotten into the back of Dibdall about halfway through this race. Dibdall manages to keep about a half a car length up on Parsono, and again with time running down, this is the battle for third for the last step of the podium in the open class.
It is. So we got a battle for that for third. We got a battle for third in the pro class for the overall for the race, and we of course have a battle for the lead with Hartley leading Fike by just a car length or two. As they come around through turn 4 and 5, I'm guessing we might see white flag next time by for these guys.
Yeah, and with the lap times just under 2 minutes, Larry, I would suspect that the next time by we should be getting the white flag for our leader, Robert Hartley, as Hartley now has managed to open up a little bit of an advantage over Jordy Fike, but not that much, only about a half a car length.
But I think Hartley's been really good in this middle section of the track, and you can see him open up about 6/10 there, but when they come onto the straight, Fike will get the draft, as they'll take that white flag, go through the S's, and Fike has been very fast through the S's, so that's going to be probably his best opportunity, is coming out of those S's down to turn 4. So we're going to keep a close eye on Fike. Can he just be close enough coming off of turn 12 up here? Just enough right here. All he has to do is get a good run, stay in that draft, and have a chance.
Now, he was throwing the car around quite a bit, Larry, through 8, 9, and 10. And as you can see here, he dropped off just a little bit as they came through turn 12 and started to make their way up the hill. And this is as far back as I've seen Jordy Fike in probably 5 laps, and at probably the most unfortunate of times.
You definitely don't want to lose ground, but he has really one shot. And I mentioned it earlier when he almost lost the draft. That was to perfectly execute this opening set of S's here in turn 1. He needs to do it to stay in it and have a shot going down into 4, or it's going to be tough. And then the other battle, as we've got the white flag out, McGrew and Allen. McGrew chasing Allen for that third spot. McGrew with a chance maybe to do what I talked about that Fike would try, which is a draft down this straightaway into turn 4. This is McGrew's chance if he wants to take it. If he's got that run, it looks like he might.
All right, and just ahead, we can see here as Jordy Fike moves to the inside on our leader. We'll have to check back with them in just a second and see where they stand. And yeah, Fike not quite close enough up to our leader, Robert Hartley. So Hartley will lead him through turns 4 and 5.
Though. He was out there. He made hardly think about it, but Fike didn't want to take both of them out. So he did back out of it just a hair. Probably would have been his fault had there been contact. But Fike now running out of chances, running out of bullets in the chamber here to try and make that final move. This is the section of the track I really think that Hartley's been as fast as anybody. And for Fike's got to be, I can't wait to talk to him. I think he's going to be thrilled to finish up here, but knowing that the win was just so close for him, unless something great can happen to him in his last couple of corners, he's going to maybe finish just a couple of car lengths behind. We got still that opportunity. A couple of more corners, one key one coming off of 12. The final run to the checker flag.
And here we go as the drivers start to make their way back up the hill, coming out of turn 12. Long run, all full throttle. This is going to be very, very difficult for Jordy Fike to make the pass on our leader, Robert Hartley, as there's only one more corner to go here before the end of this 60-minute race. The clock has expired. We've crossed that 60-minute point, and as our leaders come onto the front straight, it is Robert Hartley in the number 3. Fike coming to the inside.
But it's not over behind him.
Does not quite get close enough. And now, side by side in the battle for third, Randall McGrew gets around John Allen on the run to the checkered flag. Finishing third tonight, Randall McGrew. John Allen will finish in 4th. Chris Thorman finishes in 5th with Clint Viga 6th. And now let's take a look. This is the battle for the lead in the open class. Steve Daniel has gotten around Rachel Williams, and they now make the run up the hill over towards the checkered flag.
And she do to Daniel what McGrew just did to Allen. Oh, she doesn't get the run, though. She gets a little bit wide.
She runs very wide, drops a wheel, and she loses, if anything, about a car length and a half as they make the run now towards the checkered flag. Can she get close enough? It doesn't look like the 777 is going to be able to get close enough to our leader, Steve Daniel. No longer our leader. He is our winner in the open class tonight. Takes round 1 of season 19 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series. Congratulations to Steve Daniel. Rachel Williams will finish second, and finishing in third, Dean Dibdahl takes the checkered flag ahead of Nick Parsono. There we go as they come down the front straight. Greg Brockway will finish in 5th. Michael Key 6th. Michael Taylor 7th. Then Pat Prevenis will finish in 8th. John Casey finishes in 9th.
Oh, what a race. Battles up and down, battles for the lead, battles for the podium, battles even not for those kind of positions, and just for glory. Oh, I love watching these cars in this series and in this track. It was just a great combination tonight. What a way to open up the season.
Oh, yeah. Spectacular battles in both classes, Larry, and a lot of drama. And I think we said it at the Open. I think it's something that we should expect across all 9 rounds here this season on the Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series. And so, Larry, quickly, as our drivers are completing their cool-down laps here, let's take a final break, and then we'll come back and interview our winners. You have just witnessed round 1 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series from Interlagos. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we're back here at Interlagos for we've just witnessed the opening round of season 19 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sprint Series presented by Performa Elite Texas Graphics. And Larry, what a great way to open the season up here.
Oh, fantastic race tonight. I just, from the opening get-go, it got exciting with all the issues there on turn 1, but it turned into some great battles as that train of cars pulled away, pit stops coming out of there. And what a great night for our winner, for our podiums in both classes. I'm just excited for this whole season. It just couldn't have gotten off to a better start.
Yeah, and so let's recap things here. We'll start off with the open class where Steve Daniel managed to hold off Rachel Williams on the very last lap. He takes the win. Williams will finish second. Dean Dibdahl, all 13 or maybe 14 years old. Dean comes home in third with Nick Parsono. We're showing him in fourth. We still don't think he took that drive-through penalty. I guess we'll figure that out sometime this week. Greg Brockway in fifth. Michael Key sixth. Mike Taylor, Pat Prevenis, John Casey, and unfortunately Brennan Horn, who was our pole sitter in the open class tonight, had that opening lap incident. He managed to get the car back out on track, but finishes 7 laps down and taking the win in the pro class. Robert Hartley with a 1/1600th of a second gap back to Jordy Fike in the eSport Racer machine. Randall McGrew finishes in third with John Allen, Chris Thorman, Clint Vigas, David Payton, Jeff Jacobs, Mike Dam, and Tom Rathje rounding out the top 10. And so, Larry, we have a number of our podium finishers. They are sitting in the green room waiting for us. So why don't we move and we'll bring in our second place finisher in the pro class, Jordy Fike.
All right, we're going to start out with Jordy Fike. Jordy, you started this race back on the 4th row. You make it through the mayhem that was the first one. Suddenly you come out of the pits and you're in lead. Walk me through your night tonight and what you think of how that went down.
Holy crap just happened. To be fighting for a win in Extreme after I missed the first season, I've been around every season since then as we start this, 19th season, and to fight for a win in the opening race, I just floating around right now. I just thought I had a little something for Rob maybe, but then JRT told me we're going an extra lap, thought I was short on fuel, had a little panic attack, and by the time I got over it, it was all I could do to get back to him.
You made a heck of a run, and we were wondering how close you were going to be on fuel as you would come in a little bit earlier than some of the others, and made a very quick stop. But yeah, when you came out in that lead, you start seeing Hartley come at you. Is it intimidating? You mentioned you kind of haven't been in this position before, but I mean, you seem to adapt. What were your emotions at that moment of the race?
Well, if you guys have noticed over the years, I like to use the driver in front of me. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And that's, pre-pit, I was the last in the pack, was totally fine with it. And when I saw Rob come out behind me and he was going to connect um, Randall up to me, and that was going to be three-way. So I decided, no, Rob's got pure pace. What I'm going to do is step aside, let Rob by, grab onto his draft, let him pull me free of Randall, and then maybe I can bring it down to 1v1 with Rob and have a stab at him at the end. That was kind of the game plan there.
Yeah, well, it worked out pretty well to make sure that it was just a two-horse fight down the stretch. And I was listening over the feed, and you could hear John Allen kind of working with the group behind you guys. And I think you and Hartley making this a two-horse race at the end. But for you, finishing in second spot, a great way to start out this season. I'm sure you got to be thrilled with that. And I'm sure you're excited for the rest of the season coming off on a good start.
Yep, it really helps to not miss your pit stall, not speed into the pits, not hit the pit wall on the way out. So part of it is making your own luck. But just want to thank the Gregs at Esport Team Racing for all they do for the team, putting it together and the setups. Sorry we had such a disappointing start of the race that didn't go well for us as a team. But want to thank Greg Brockway and Brendan Horan for their sponsorship of our team as well.
Well, Jordy, congrats on the second place finish tonight. Looking forward to seeing you in future rounds.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Jordy Fike, driver of the number 09 machine, finishing second tonight in the pro class. Thanks so much, Jordy. Now let's move over, Larry, to our winner in the open class, Steve Daniel.
All right, here with Steve Daniel. Steve, you and Rachel had a heck of a battle in these closing laps. Walk me through a little bit of that and how you were trying to set up to try and win this thing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. She did a great job out there. Was really just trying to get those runs off of turn 1 and 2. I think we were both trying to make that pass into turn 3, and eventually I was able to make it. And then on the last lap, I was just defending as much as I could.
Yeah, I got to drive a wide card on the end, but really fascinating race from the start. Where were you as the mayhem hit going through the S's, and what's going through your mind of I just don't want to get caught in this?
Yeah, I got pretty lucky there because I made it through without any incident and had to stare around a couple cars, but I think that obviously helped propel me up the list. So
yeah, sometimes survival of the first lap is as hard as the subsequent 20-some laps for the rest of the race. So yeah, a great finish for you. Great way to start the season, kind of winning here in the open class. And anybody you want to thank for tonight's performance?
yeah, really just a big kudos to the admins of this league. Obviously, Ricmotech and Proforma Elite Graphics. Really appreciate their sponsorship.
Of course, we don't go very far without the sponsors. So congratulations, Steve, on the win tonight. Looking forward to see you in the next round.
Thanks a lot.
All right, there you go. That was Steve Daniel, driver of the number. Oh my gosh, I forgot the number. Hey, it's the number 96 SKKG Racing Machine, our winner tonight in the open class. And so finally, Larry, let's bring in Robert Hartley, driver of the number 3 Orion Racing entry, our winner in the pro class tonight.
All right. All right, we've got the winner of the overall and the winner of the pro class tonight, Robert Hartley. And Rob, tonight's one heck of a race. A lot of things at the start kind of happened behind you guys. But when I don't know, when you come out of the pits and you've got John Allen in front of you and he swings it wide to the guardrail, what flashes through your mind?
Yeah, that was a kind of crazy race there, but good way to start off the season, and then
yeah, very
start
very
off
crazy.
with a win, and Yeah, with the John Allen coming out the pits, I seen him get loose on the first left, and then the right, he got really loose and put it in the wall. I had to kind of check up to keep from. I thought he was going to come back across at one point, but yeah, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, that was a little bit crazy. And then as you come out, you had Jordy Fike a couple seconds in front of you. You managed to track him down pretty quickly. For a moment, we thought you were going to break away. Were you kind of surprised and Jordy hung with you and made a fight out of this to the end?
Yeah, right when you come out the pits, you have the fresh tires, and it took me a lap or so to catch Jordy. So right when I caught him, the tires were optimal, and when I got in front of him, I was trying to check out, and he was able to weather the storm and stay in there, and the tires kind of equalized after that.
Yeah, it turned into a great battle right down the stretch. He just pushed you right up to the finish, but you managed to be just about a car length ahead at the lights and take that checkered flag for the first win of the season. So congratulations on the win, Rob. And anybody you want to thank for tonight's victory?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank y'all for doing the broadcast, and always Kevin Ford and everybody that's involved with Extreme Motorsports. And, this has been running a long time, and very happy to be here racing.
Well, glad to see you with the victory here tonight. Looking forward to seeing you in the next couple rounds.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Our winner tonight in the Pro Class and overall in the number 3 Orion Racing machine, Robert Hartley. And Larry, let's not forget, we've got one other person sitting in the green room, and given his run at the very end here, I think we'd be remiss in not bringing him in for an interview. Driver of the number 67 Genesis SimSport entry, we've got Randall McGrew.
Randall McGrew joining us here. Randall, that fight for third as it came down to the end between you and John Allen was getting pretty heated there, but walk me through that last lap and what ultimately ended up being you just a nose ahead.
Well, thankfully John had gotten some damage and gave himself a handicap. That was really the only way I had any chance.
Yeah, well, you gave him all you had. The opening part of the race, you were kind of right there in the mix. And in fact, for a while, they thought maybe you were going to kind of stick your nose inside, whether it be Hartley or John Allen. Were you trying to be patient and look for opportunities, or were you just maybe kind of mixing it up and hoping to stick with those guys?
It was hard to be patient, but I was just really trying to stick with them. I know that those guys are the cream of the crop, and any chance to run with them, I'm just going to sit back and try to learn what I can. There was a couple chances I had, but I decided to back out.
Yeah, well, it looked like a lot of good patience and a good strategy there on your part, and to come out there with John Allen kind of mixing it up with you. We weren't seeing a lot of people making the pass by the time you reached start finish, but did you just get the run of your life coming off of that last corner on that last lap?
Well, I had a decent run, and he had some aero damage. I think he got into the wall on pit exit maybe, and that really helped me set it up. So I just made sure that I set up that last corner really good, and that was all I really needed.
Yeah, it worked out really well. So get that podium finish here in the first round for you. Congratulations on that. Anybody you want to thank for the performance tonight?
I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And you took every opportunity and put it to good use. Came home with a podium finish here at the opening round at Interlagos. So, Randall, congratulations on that. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, there was Randall McGrew finishing third tonight in the Pro Class. Thanks so much, Randall. And so, Larry, as we go to wrap things up, I want to remind all of our listeners, of course, if you like what you see here tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the Apex Racing TV channel and click on that notification bell. You can find out about all the great racing events that Apex broadcasts all week long. And you can find out more also by subscribing to our social media channels on Twitter, on Instagram, and also on Facebook. Just search for Apex Racing TV, all one word. And again, you can find out all about what we have coming up. Speaking of coming up, let's take a look at the upcoming Ricmotech series events. Of course, we just completed round 1 here at Interlagos for the Classic Sprint Series. Next up is going to be the Sports Cars Series, the season opener for them. It's going to be round 1 of 8 for our GT4 and TCR cars. That's going to be July 12th at Imola. Then on July 19th, 3 weeks from tonight, round 2 for the Classic Sprint Series. They are going to be at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So going to be, as we mentioned earlier tonight, going to be heading back north of the equator up to Montreal for our second round. And then we head over to the Old Country. And then on August 9th, is going to be the season opener for the Ricmotech World Challenge. Those are LMP2 and GT3 cars, and they will open things up at Daytona International Speedway. So you definitely don't want to miss any of those events coming on up. And just a reminder to everybody that if you visit ExtremeMotorsports99.com, you can find out official results for the Classic Sprint Series and also all of the Ricmotech series. Find out about all of our upcoming events across the seasons for all 3 different series. And if you want to sign up, if you want to drive, if you want to race here in the Classic Sprint Series, you can sign up there as well. Again, go to Extreme Motorsports 99. That's Extreme with an X. .com, and actually if you hit /road, that'll take you right over to all of our road racing series. So for Larry McLeod in the announcing booth, for Dennis Branch back behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.